It's Chris here today from Huckabones Equipment. In today's video we're going to be doing how to start video. In this case it's going to be how to start your front snowblower on your BX1880. Fire up the actual BX step by step and then fire up the BX2750 step by step. You may ask, why do I have the old style front snowblower on the front of this BX? That's because we're going to be shooting a head-to-head video against the BX1880, so look forward to that one. But today's again is going to be how to start your BX as well as start your front snowblower. So I'm going to hop on that seat and demonstrate it all to you. Whenever we do one of these videos of how to start or how this operates kind of idea, it's not a video for everybody. We're going to go step by step how everything fires up, so feel free to skip around the video. Maybe you just want to see how that snowblower starts up, or maybe it is your first time for everything. So we're going to pretend it's cold out, because it is. It's about -35 out. You can see there's still snow dripping off of this. We just brought it in specifically for this video. So before you start your BX, things to check for it. And it goes for any tractor. Not that most people do it, but you should always do a circle check. Make sure there's not something new in on your tractor that you didn't expect to see, whether it's that mouse nest or a chipmunk running out of your exhaust. You may want to just check around it, make sure everything's where it should be. Nothing blocking your path kind of idea. Other than that, always check your brakes whenever you get on, that your forward reverse pedal is returning to neutral. None of your PTOs are on. As you can see, this one is engaged, so it would never start to fire up, as you can see here. And that's what happens whenever that is off. Whenever it is not engaged, fire up. So there's a few little things to check for. So again, check your brakes, make sure they're operational, or that your park brake is on, that your forward reverse pedal is in neutral, and that your PTOs are in the off position, not in the on. Turn on your PTO all the way down, feathering it on, and then all the way to the top to turn it off. Step number one, if it's cold out, plug in your tractor. You're going to find it on your front of your tractor, left-hand side, right above the axle there. You'll see the plug in there. So again, whenever it's dropping to -20, -30. Again, all these tractors are cold weather tested in Canada up to -30. In the States, it's -20. So just be mindful of that whenever you're thinking about it. But again, just plug it in whenever it gets greater than any of those temperatures. After that, unplug it whenever you go to start it. And so step number one after that is you want to glow it. Again, you'll be turning the key. There is a glow symbol. It's two pitches over, 2 clicks over kind of idea. My trick is to count down from 15 and do it slowly. Again, it just gives you some reference, and you're going to probably have to want to glow it a couple times before to fire up, depending on temperature. If it's in that -5 to -10, it is going to be that 10 to 15 seconds. And then as we go progressively lower on temperatures, you're going to want that a longer glow. Maybe it'll roll a few times and not fire. Well, then you just bring it back, glow it again for that 10-15 seconds or whatnot, and then glow it again. You can't go wrong trying that, as long as it's trying to kick. If it's not kicking, then you might have another issue, maybe a frozen fuel or something. So just be mindful of that. But step one, glow it for 10 to 15 seconds. To get your glow plugs on and hold it there. Glow plugs on and hold it. You'll see the indicator here as well as the indicator here. So now you're going to move on to starting your snowblower. So that's basically step two for this process. So first thing you're going to want to check for is where your RPMs are at. You've already started up. You want it to stay on an idle before it's turning on your snowblower, or just a little bit off of it, but not wide open by any means. It's no fun to start any implement at wide open, because it's like taking off at a sprint. That's whenever you're going to see some issues. So RPM's low. Then you're going to want to check your selectors. Your PTO selector locator here. So again, there's 3 different selections on here. I will explain each one. So at the very bottom, it's showing the PTO spinning behind the tractor. That's for rear PTO. So if you had a rear snowblower, you'd be selecting this. And then if you go all the way up to the top, that's the mid PTO. That's what we're utilizing today for that front snowblower. Again, if you had a mower deck, it'd be the same idea. And then there's one in the middle. What is that for? That's for both PTOs spinning at the same time. So that would be your rear and your mid. Best example for that is, especially on a BX, is if you're cutting grass and had a bagger on the back. That's whenever you're going to utilize both PTOs there. So for today's exercise, mid PTO all the way at the top, And then we're going to use this other special yellow lever, sorry. We're going to use this other special lever here, and that engages your PTO. So whenever it's all the way up to the top, that's off, and you will be moving it all the way to the bottom to turn it on. So let me show that to you there now. PTO selector, so all the way down for rear PTO, mid for both, all the way to the top for the front. Okay, so for operation of that snowblower, there's a few little tips and tricks here to help you out. People always ask, what do I run my front snowblower at? Well, on the BXs, it's right on the cluster gauge here. It says PTO 540. That's where you're going to run it at. It's basically wide open. It is wide open on a BX1880. So just basically wide open is what you're normally going to be at or very close to with a snowblower. So RPM control is this handle here. All the way up is to the slowest RPM at an idle, and all the way forward towards you is the rabbit, is for full throttle. After that is your hydraulic controls. So if you selected the optional hydraulic rotate or electric deflector in this case, or even if you had hydraulic deflector, it's all going to be run off of here. And if it was hydraulic deflector, there's going to be a few different ways to hook it up, but again, there's going to be a switch or something mounted here, whether it's with your third function or a separate way of running it. But anyway, the big one I want to have a conversation about was the hydraulic controls for left to right for hydraulic rotation. So again, we get the calls every year, you know, I can go to the left real easy, but I go to the right, it doesn't want to do it. And we're going to demonstrate that here now, that, you know, you got to push a little bit harder to get it to go to the right-hand side. It's just the nature of the beast, and people ask me, well, why is that? Well, you got to remember, this is also for, you're using the loader controls. If you wanted to have a speed dump on your loader, it's all the way over, and that's what the tractor doesn't know on that hydraulic setting, whether it's a loader on the front or a snowblower with hydraulic rotate. So that's why it's always a little bit harder to go to your right on that, and you got to be a little bit forceful sometimes. So just be mindful of that whenever you go to operate it. Again, so you can go up and down on the whole snowblower right from here. So it'll be up, down with the loader, and then if you have the hydraulic rotate, it's going to be left to right. Whenever you're actually utilizing it, is the best thing to have the setting is in the float condition for your driveway. So that is all the way forward with a little bit of force, and it locks it in. Again, if it's not locked in, it means you didn't push hard enough. So you can see it wants to reset, but if I push straight through that, then it locks it in. And now it's going to help you move along your driveway and blow that snow without digging in or missing a lot. So again, you may have to adjust it as you go, but you will learn that as you operate the machine. All the way forward for float, locked in. And then disengage float, pull it back. Hydraulic rotate is going to be left to right. So if you want the spout to move to the left, to the left, to the right, the spout will move to the right. Again, a little bit more force needed for the right. So to start your tractor, you're going to want to glow it, especially if it's cold out. And then start your tractor. And then take it a little bit off idle. Now select your PTO, which is the correct one. And then engage your PTO. Motor controls are here, so lifting your blower, putting it into float, left, right. Again, full operation, you're going to want pretty much full RPM. So a few little tips and tricks about your snowblower for some upkeep and everything. Let's say you're using your snowblower and it basically stops working. Again, the tractor's running perfectly fine, but you just see snow piling up at the front and not coming out the spout. Well, first thing is turn off your tractor, check what's going on. Again, you may be plugged up in the chute here. They have you know, safety stickers everywhere. Do not stick your hand anywhere near anything while this is operating. So first step, again, I will repeat it, turn off your tractor and then check and see what's going on. So again, it could be plugged up in the spout. More than likely, you have had a shear bolt break on you. And that's what it's supposed to do, right? So again, while you're walking up to the front, you could check your PTO shaft, see to make sure that everything's still attached correctly. More than likely it is. And then you'll come up to the front, you'll see a bunch of snow maybe on one side and nothing on the other. Or you can just grab this and spin it. And you can see whenever the shear bolts are in, nothing spins. Whenever one of these shear bolts on the side is broken, it'll let you spin it freely. But you may not even notice that way. You should just check and see if both ends are there, because sometimes you'll come across it where one end will be there, one end will still be jammed in it, and you have to get a punch now and punch that out. Not a whole lot of fun. That is the downside of shear bolts, is sometimes they just don't break how you want them to. But there is 3 on it, so there's one on each side for each auger. This is 2 separate augers in this particular machine. So one here, one there. And whenever you go to set it back on, you'll see that they are offset. You'll see that one fan is sitting up here, or not fan, one blade is sitting up and one blade is down, and that's how you want it. So again, you can imagine if it was together, it's going to be operating like that coming into the fan, where whenever it's offset, it's working perfectly in tune with that fan. And again, the fan has a shear bolt too. Not going to break it nearly as often because again, that blockage, maybe it's a piece of wood or something, has to get past the front 2 augers before it gets back to that fan. So, but the fan one is mounted back here about 3/4 of the way back. Again, it's easy to replace as long as it breaks the proper way. And some people also question, how come whenever I go to the right, that snow goes like 10 feet further than it goes to the left? Well, just imagine which way that fan is turning, and it can be clockwise or counterclockwise. So one way is going to be firing it farther than the other. So again, one tip and trick is just to see which way it's spinning, and then you'll know which way it's going to throw it further, because it's not fighting it at that end. So especially when you get into slushy conditions, it is a nice little hint to know. So yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of the upkeep for a snowblower. Okay, so to start your BX is you want to glow it for 10 to 15 seconds. Make sure that everything's good on the cold start, and then fire it up. Take it a little bit off idle. Now you want to check your PTO selectors, make sure you've selected the right one for the mid PTO for that front snowblower. Now you're going to engage it. And now you have your loader controls for the operation of the snowblower. So up, pulls it up, down, go move it down, all the way forward for float. Now you have left to right for the operation of the chute. So push it to your left, left, push to your right with a little bit more force, and you'll have the right. And that's all there is to it. So that brings to the end of today's video. Again, 2 last points whenever you go to turn off your tractor after the snowblower is running is idle it down, and then with your PTO selector, move it to the off position, so that the next time you go to fire up your tractor, you're not wondering why it won't start, because of that safety switch in that PTO on off. It needs to be in the off position to start. So if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. Again, hopefully I was able to bring you a few tips and tricks. Maybe you're going to help your neighbor out while he's away down south, and you've never operated the Kubota before, and hopefully this helps you start up the tractor, or maybe it's the 1,000th time you're going to start it and you learned a few tips and tricks. So again, please like, subscribe. If you have any comments, please down below. Thank you.